with a KK who's trying to talk me into things. I've been last couple of days, I took a couple of days off from working on Halloween stuff. Got a bunch of business paperwork done, got my taxes filed, and got a little bit of audio editing. I do that in my spare time. I edit. I haven't done any Halloween stuff, and I'm getting the itch again, so I'm back out here. But one main reason why I was out there was I wanted to get this guy down. This is my 12-foot skelly, and this is my next project. I came out to get some wiring and the rib cage. We're going to be doing a couple of different things with this. I want to highlight the inside of the rib cage. So in order to do that, I'm going to be installing, I don't think on every rib, but on a few of the ribs from the back side where you won't see them, some LED lights. And I need to figure out how I'm going to run the wiring and stuff so it isn't seen. Which is going to be fun. I also need to do a new wire, this here, for the skull as well, with a longer feed on it. So I got to figure out how I want to do things. But I need to get this into the house. I'll be doing all my LED work downstairs in the basement shop. But I want to highlight that cavity. Now, we're going to be doing two things to it. Overall, look at the skeleton is going to change. I want to give it the look as if it had been partially burnt. You know, put it into a crematorium and not all the flesh had been burned off. So I'm going to give them a crispy look. For that, I am going to be using some great stuff, and there's going to be a lot of painting involved. But like I said, I need to get some LEDs installed in here to highlight the chest cavity. And I got to do that before I can do the great stuff. So, hold on. We're going to get going, working on the 12-foot skelly. Well, we're downstairs now. I got the rib cage in. To get started on this with the lights, I need to create a wiring harness, which will come out here, run up through the spine, and then split out to the ribs. To figure out length of wiring and all that, I've got to figure out where I want my LEDs placed. I am not going to put LEDs on each rib. So I've got to figure out, you know, which ribs are going to get LEDs. And I'll be putting the LEDs on this. I think I'm going to put some LEDs on this rib here and then match it on the other side. I might just skip down here. Which means the wiring harness I make is going to have some wires coming out of the spine down here, out onto, you know, out onto the rib in the same way. So once I get figured out where I want my LEDs, I can melt a few holes in the plastic back here to allow the wire to come out, and I can start measuring out wiring and getting that all soldered together. Okay, I got a little ways on it. I started out using a old soldering iron, and once I figured out which ribs I was going to put the LEDs on, I went through and marked. I'm trying to figure out the best camera angle so you can see it there. Mark the spine and use the soldering iron to melt a hole in the spine for the wire, or for the wire from the wiring harness to pass through. I then got to thinking, I'm going to have 8 wires all together, 4 on each side of the rib cage. Now I'm going to need to pull from here up to the prospective holes. And it's almost impossible to do. You probably could do it you know, just shoving up there loose until you find the hole. But to make it a little bit easier, I went and took some string, tied a nut onto the end of it, and then just dropped it through the hole and let it come down to the bottom. I did that for each hole, so I've got 8 strings hanging here. Now when I get done with the wiring harness, I'm going to be able to I'll figure out which string goes to which hole. Well, anyway, I won't show you that. I was going to show you which line was moving when I was tugging on it. But anyway, I'll be able to tie the wires to the strings and just go string by string and pull the string back through, which will pull the wire up into the spine and out the hole. So, now that this part's done with the holes and the string, my next thing is to take the wire over there and start creating a wiring harness. My goal is, like I said, I've got 8 holes, 8 strings, so I'm going to have 8 wires sticking up into the rib cage. I want it supplied by 1 wire coming out the bottom. So I'm going to have to create a wiring harness. Well, that didn't take too long. We got the wiring harness done. These 2 here, going up the end of the table, is the top of the rib cage, or the top 2 ribs. And then we got the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, and then I connected on an 18-foot lead. I'm not going to need all 18 feet. I'd rather have more than what I need just to play it safe. I'll get it trimmed down once the skeleton's done and all the way put together. My next step with this is the work I did on the rib cage. Before I did this, I got to get the rib cage back over here, untangle the strings, and get each wire lead tied off to its corresponding string and get it fished up and into the skeleton. And that is probably going to take a little while. Okay, progress made. I've got the wiring harness mounted into the skeleton. I also ran a second one. I used this at Christmas and it worked perfectly for the head. The head has some video eyes on it. When power's turned on to them, they blink and look in different directions, what have you. The problem is with the power, not the power supply, but the computer board that the head plugs into, it has a timer on it. And it only runs for a couple hours and then turns off. I don't want it to do that. I want to, since I will not have power on during the day, I don't have to worry about during the day. But at night, when I turn that on, I can throw one switch and this skeleton and its eyes, as well as the LEDs I'm going to be putting in the chest, will turn off. And then when I throw the switch at the end of the night, it will automatically turn off. Hence, I don't need the computer board on it or the manual switch. And that's the other thing. Once it turns off, you have to go in and turn it back on manually. It does not automatically turn back on. And if power is disconnected, it always fires up in the off mode. So I wanted to be able to control it. So I've got one bundle here with the right connection on it. Runs from the bottom all the way up to the top of the spine where the head attaches and plugs in. That I could add a wall wart or a power cord to run it. Now I've got another mess of wiring over here that goes up to the chest and all the wiring in it. Took a while to get those dang things fished into place without getting them all tangled. Now, my next chore, I gotta figure out how many LEDs I want to put in this sucker. I'm only going to be putting them on 8 ribs, 4 on each side. I've got this rib here, then this rib, then this rib, and this rib. So 4 ribs on this side, and the same corresponding ribs on that side. And what I want to do is I want to light that chest cavity up, because I am going to be using some great stuff in there to decorate it and what have you, I guess is about the best word to use, decorate. And it will also hide the wires on the inside too. So now I just got to figure out, I know like on this short rib here and the short rib up here, there's probably going to be about 2 lights on it. But on these longer ribs, I might be able to get 3 or 4 lights on it. And going with the curve of the spine, they should crisscross and light up that chest cavity. So I got to sit down and figure out exactly how many LEDs I want. The other thing too is I've got to get all the LEDs assembled. And if you've been following the channel for any length of time, you know I do not use pre-wired LEDs. I get all my LEDs in raw form and I solder on the resistor and the leads and what have you. So once I figure out how many LEDs I'm going to need in the skeleton, I'm going to have to sit down and make up some LEDs and then go through, mount them, and get them wired into the wiring harness. Oh, one other thing I did too, before I got the wiring harness lead coiled up, I went and hooked it up to the power station and took a LED I already had wired, and I went through and tested each one to make sure the wiring, all the wiring harness was working. Everything tested out just fine. But I'd rather check now than think, okay, it's working fine, go out and get the grate stuffing and stuff in, and go and plug it in, and there's something wrong inside of here, and I need to rip the wiring harness out, and I can't because it's got grates, and it'd just be a whole mess. So better to pre-check. But for right now, like I said, I need to figure out how many LEDs I'm going to need for this total. There we go. I got 28, or actually 27 flickering LED lights mounted to the inside. Took a couple of days to do. I'm supposed to have 28, but I had one screw up. Right up there, there's a blue one. And if I had done what I should have done is, after I wired the LEDs together, gone through and tested them all, I would have found that, pulled it off the side, and switched it out for flickering yellow. I didn't do that step. I just assumed they were all flickering yellow and went with it. Plus I was being lazy. So we're going to have one blue one in there. Don't know how that's going to affect anything. But so far I've looked at it from this point. I haven't stood it up and looked at it with the lights off to see how well the cavity in there is lighting up. So let me stand this up and we'll get another look at it with the lights off, because I'm curious to see how bright it's going to be. Okay, there we go. And the cavity's lit up pretty good. Now none of the LEDs have been aimed or anything. I will do that at the end once we get all the grate stuff and everything in there. Which is coming up almost next. I got another step I got to do. But we'll be moving out to the main shop for that and getting some more prep work done. But it's not too bad, I don't think. So, hold tight, we're heading out to the shop. Oh hey, we're out in the main shop, the main Dragon Layers workshop. Our next step with this, before we get into applying grate stuff to everything, is masking tape. I've got 6 rolls of tape there. I need to go over every piece and do areas with tape, like the fitting here, because I don't want to get grate stuff down inside there or on this flange, because it connects up to the arms up there. I also want to tape off areas where I don't want grate stuff, like the finger webbing. Here, this part of the arm, it's 2 different bones, so I want to leave no grate stuff in that area. So I'm going to put tape over it. Now I've got to go through each piece and do that. You know, get all the taping and stuff done. And I'll do it. I'll bring the pieces in piece by piece. The rib cage is in here right now because I just brought it out from the house. We just got done. You saw that in the last segment for getting the lights in it. These here were in the shop for a couple of weeks. I went and used, what was it? Let's see here. E6000. It's a glue. Kind of a rubber base, commercial grade glue. And I glued the arm joints together. I have no plans on ever taking these arms apart again. So I've glued them together, and all this great stuff over the seam so you don't see the seam. But anyway, I've got to go through and get this all taped up. It's going to take a while to do. Oh, hey, Kaylee, you going to come out and say hello? Huh? Here we got Kaylee there. Huh? You've got to come out and get on the log. But anyway, that's my next step. We're going to start masking. Well, I've got skelly parts hanging all over the shop. I just got done taping off everything. I don't want to risk getting great stuff on. If I get great stuff on the tape, I can bring a razor blade back through here and, you know, cut it and peel the tape off. The tape will also help protect those areas from the painting process once I get the great stuff done. Now, everything's taped. We're going to start with the feet. And it's time to get into the great stuff. And that's it there, gaps and cracks. The stuff that you use in the cracks. Oh, like, here's some right there. Some great stuff. We used it in and around the windows to seal them. When applying this, you need to make sure of two things. One, have something on, like I do, that you don't care if it gets messed up. Because it's going to get messed up when you mess with the great stuff. Second, gloves. Gloves are a must. Time I get done with this, I'm going to probably go through tons of gloves to keep it off your hands. Because you get enough of this stuff on your hands and it's a bitch getting it off. Excuse the French for those with little ones around. But we're going to get started, and like I said, I'm going to start on the feet and then work my way up. Starting with the feet on purpose, because when this is displayed, people normally don't see the feet because there's pumpkins and stuff in front of them. So if I screw up or something on the feet, you know, while I'm getting back into the feel of doing this, because it's been a while, it ain't going to hurt nothing. If I mess up on the rib cage, the pelvis, or any of the arms or leg bones or the head, people are going to notice it. So we're going to get started with that. I'll give you some shots of it as we go along. Well, I just realized while I took some pictures of the latest step being done, and I posted them up on Facebook and Instagram, I forgot to vlog it. So we got the great stuff done. It has set overnight. Everything's done that way. And got the arms over there. The rib cage, which was a pain in the ass to do. And then I got the pelvis and another leg bone. Now on the rib cage, when people look at this, they're going to be looking at it from that angle. They're not going to be up underneath, and as you can see, I did not put any great stuff on this part of the skeleton. Probably a worthless camera shot. This camera doesn't zoom out as far as it used to. But anyway, I'm to the point now where I got to do some cleanup. I got to go over all the pieces, and I want to clean up any foam that's sticking past the lip like that there. And I got to do that on all the fittings. Get those all kind of cleaned up, trimmed up, what have you. And then we're going to be into paint. And Sue Ann and I were talking. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to go through, we're going to start the painting process with a gray. I don't know if I'll do a light gray or dark gray. I haven't decided yet. But we're going to spray everything dark gray. Let it dry. And I'm going to come back through with my airbrush and some red and come through and highlight some of these higher portions on here. And then come back through with some black and do some detail work and stuff on them. So it's going to be a long-ass project, you know, doing the painting. A lot of pieces, you know, a big item to do. But anyway, and we're now into paint. I just got done spraying the first color, which is a gray. I got to thinking I want to give it a look, the skeleton a look, like he had been partially cremated. You know, they didn't leave him in long enough, so there's bits of muscle and skin and stuff still sticking out. But if he was partially cremated, partially cooked, the bones would start turning a little bit gray prior to going to ash. So I went ahead and I sprayed a good healthy coat of gray on everything. Now my next chore, here in a day or two after these have dried all the way, is I've got to come back in and we're going to go over spots like that with a red. I'm not sure exactly what color red I'm going to do yet, but we're going to go over each bone and detail it with a red using my little airbrush. So this is going to take a while, probably several days to do with the red. But, okay, red is done. I should say I've got the red sprayed on, but we're not done with the red. We're actually, well, I guess we are. But anyway, all the pieces have the red on. Now we're going to come back right here with some gray. I want the red up on the bump. I don't want it down here on the gray. So I'm going to come back through by brush and cut around every piece and every bump and redo a little bit of gray to cover up the slop from the red. And then this is going to take a while. This here, to get these sprayed, took 2.5 days with the airbrush. It took a while. The rib cage there and the pelvis took the longest. Rib cage was almost a full day just by itself. The pelvis was just over half a day. All the other pieces went real quick. In fact, this row here that's hanging up, I got done today. So it went real quick. Well, it's been a couple of days. I've gone through and I've gotten the yellow and the red, or not yellow and red, but gray and red done. And it's really, really highlighted the bumps a lot more on there. After I sprayed the red on, it looked, everything looked red. And going through and cleaning it up with another coat of gray really, really helped. Now my next job is I'm going to take some yellow. And I want it to look like some of the boils are blistered. So what I'm going to do is, like on that one there, the higher bumps, I'm going to spritz a little bit yellow on them. The lower areas, like this area here, I'm just going to leave as is. So the yellow will add a little bit of contrast. I've got to go through and do that to all the pieces, and it's going to take a while to do it. So that's where we're at and where we're going. Let the arm block it. Well, here we go. Yellow is done on all the pieces. And I just got started on the next step, which is a big step. The black. Some of the parts, like the hands and the feet, have gaps in between the bones, and they've just filled them in with plastic. I'm going to be painting those black, so I've got to go through, let's see, the skull, the feet, and the leg bones, and the arm bones, and get those areas taken care of. I am also going to, with a fine brush, come back here and do some detail work on some of the bumps and stuff too, with black, and then I've got to come back with some gray and do final touch-ups on the gray. I'm going to do that on each of the parts as we work our way through it. There, we are 99% done. Got all my painting done on all the parts. I posted pictures up on Instagram, and I've shared them over on the Haunted Tents page of my personal page. But this is the coloring I'm doing on everything, and it is done. I'm in the process of cleaning up now so I can do the very last step, which I am not going to vlog. The last step, I've got to clear coat everything. I'm going to do a flat clear coat to help kind of tone down some of the coloring on this a little bit. But other than that, the project's done. So I am going to bring this vlog to a close. Now, it's going to take me a couple of days to get the clear coat done and to allow for drying. Once it's done, I really want to see what this thing looks like put together. So we are going to do a reveal video and some reveal pictures, which will be up on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram here in a couple of days. So bear with me. But other than that, stay spooky. Stay toxic.